Hello. Good morning, everybody. I hope you can hear me. Um, I got coffee in hand. That's. I realized this morning that I actually didn't have any coffee anymore, so I had to real quick, like right after I tweeted out the announcement, I had to jump and buy some. But here we are, coffee in hand. Nice. So, what are we doing? So as you probably guessed, um, hello. As you probably have guessed, it's about logging, logging in Tauri. So for the longest time, you have not been able to know really what's going on under the hood, right? So, for example, in the updater or in the IPC system or whatever, usually there's only like educated guessing, right? So you can only really guess what's going on. And we're here to change that. So we're going to add logging to those places, right, where it's really hard to guess what's going on. So we're going to start with the updater. And then we're going to do, I guess, the IPC system. I don't really know. We'll see. There are a couple other places that would benefit from logging. We'll see how far we get. So yeah, let me quickly let me connect my MacBook to the power, so so I'm not suddenly disappearing. Cool, nice. Well then, let's go. This is not screen capture. Yes. Let me. So I think I have no real way of confirming that, but at least for me, transition. Yeah, the screen capture kind of looks like it's frozen, which is annoying. Let's quickly try to fix that. I have no real idea why that is happening, other than macOS. All right, here we are. Cool, nice. So, wrong VS Code instance. Nope. There we go. So, we're in Tauri now. This is the project, and oh no, quickly let me actually do one thing before we go the old way. Yeah. I've seen like there's a tab, right, called deprecated. I was like, ooh, deprecated doesn't sound good, but I may have to try. Anyway, I guess most of you are Rust proficient, at least a bit. Yeah. But let's quickly make an example to show you sort of what the logging crate is doing. Just so we're all on the same page and no one gets confused. Cool. Let me open this in VS Code. There we go. Yes, I trust myself. Thank you very much. Cool. Okay, so let's just like initialize a new project like that. And so this is our main function, right? So what logging in Rust is, and that, in my experience, that is different to a lot of like logging in a lot of other languages. Certainly, it's different to logging in JavaScript. Way different, in my opinion. Quite a bit nicer, but I guess I'm also very biased in that direction. Anyway, so what logging is essentially it's a crate, right? And it's the crate is appropriately named log. And yeah, I apologize for the light mode, but for me at least it's morning, so I'm gonna use the light mode. So what the logging crate provides you with is essentially a couple macros, right? And those macros behave very much like the println and print macros that you are used to from the standard library. Yeah, you can see in this example, right? You just, well, here you can see that it's slightly different, but essentially, yeah, this example. Essentially, this is hello. Essentially, this is just println, right? But with sort of levels attached to it. So you have going from sort of most verbose to least verbose. You have trace, debug, info, warn, and error. Let me maybe increase the font size a bit. You have trace, debug, info, warn, and error, right? And what those do, and that's sort of the neat part, right? They don't do anything by default. So you will notice like just logging something doesn't do anything. And let me show you that, right? So if we add the log crate real quick. Ooh, I think I haven't upgraded to the new, what's it called again? The quicker crate fetching thing. I cannot remember. Shit. Anyway, so if we just use the log crate as is, right? So let's do info, and usually what I like to do is I don't really like to import it like this, but I like to do log info like this, because there's also like a crate called tracing, and tracing does a whole bunch like very similar things but slightly different as well. And usually sort of when you're reading code and you just see this, right, you just see info, you don't really know which crate that is coming from, right? You don't know like what is going on. Could also be a custom macro, right? Like who knows? So what I like to do is I just like to have it be like this, because log as a name, that's quite short, and with tracing, even though it's not as short, I would do the same thing, right? I would do this, like this. Oh Jesus! Just so you know, like what's going on when you read the code. Okay, so if we now do this, right? So we have our main function, and we basically changed out the println to the info macro, and we run that, and you see nothing is happening, right? There's like no output printed into the console whatsoever. Nothing is happening. And this is the sort of the beautiful part, because any library in Rust can use this crate, right? Any downstream, if you imagine your project and then sort of the tree of dependencies, right? Any dependency in that tree can use the logging crate to sort of print debug information or any kind of information really. And by default, nothing happens, right? So by default, if you don't choose to enable logs, they will also not impact your performance and not show up whatsoever. So that is kind of cool. It's not like this is printing straight to sort of standard out, right? So what a lot of other languages with logging would do, where the dependency is responsible for printing to standard out. In Rust, you have sort of this layer of indirection, and this layer of indirection is called don't let me, yeah, okay, so basically the loggers, right? So the ones that then actually print that to somewhere, and those, like, that is under the hood, that is actually quite simple. So it's as far as I'm aware, it's sort of a global static that you can only write to once, and basically by default, unless you set a logger, that sort of global variable is just none, or uninitialized, and once you sort of configure a logger, that one then becomes initialized, of course, and starts, like, you can then start logging to a standard out or to wherever. And so you can see there's a whole bunch of options. You can really choose any of these, sort of depending on the situation you're in, right? You can, like, some might be more applicable. This one, for example, and I know there's one other one that's for WebAssembly. That's quite cool if you're developing sort of front-end apps or any WebAssembly stuff that runs in the browser, because this will basically use the browser's console for logging, which is quite neat. But I guess for the simple example, the most common one is called env-logger, and that's what we're interested in. The way you use these loggers is you just call init on them. That's sort of the canonical function. And then they are attached, which is cool. So let's bring that dependency in as well. And right at the start, and you want to do this as early as you can, right? This should be done as soon as possible, before any other code gets run, ideally. You want to call init. And now what you can see, first of all, okay, sure. So one special thing about env-logger is that, as the name suggests, right, it's configured by environment variables. So the environment variable is called rust-log, and you got to set that, like, before you run anything. And that sort of there's the whole, like, let me scroll down some. Yeah. So you can really, like, the value of that environment variable can get really complicated and, like, really complex, and you can do, like, filtering based on scope, based on where the log is emitted. So you can, like, really filter down to what logs you are interested in, so you don't get overwhelmed. But in the simplest of cases, what you just do is you just have a log level, right? And you set it to a log level, and it will only print the logs that are less verbose, or, like, are on the sort of, if it's debug, that's hard to explain. If it's debug, then it's going to print debug logs, info logs, warn, and error logs. If it's tracing, then it's going to print all of them. If it's info, it's going to only print info, warnings, and errors, right? Yeah, like, this example quite, like, illustrates that quite nicely. So I guess let's just print all of them. Why not? We only have one log anyway, so who cares? Nice. See? And now we got a log that actually sort of reflected what we said it should log to standard out. And the cool part about sort of this mechanism of basically the end consumer controlling where logs end up is that you can have any number of loggers, and those can do whatever they want. So what we did for Tauri is I always use this as a shortcut to get to GitHub. Just tauri.app, click the GitHub icon, and jump to GitHub. So where are our plugins? Plugins. There we go. So what we have is called the log plugin, which is basically a drop-in replacement for env-logger, right? And what that does is, instead of just printing to standard out, you can actually configure where sort of you want the logs to end up. And by default, well, the documentation isn't that great, but you have a couple options, and those are sort of those are targeted towards like desktop apps or like graphical apps, right? And so if we go to log target, right, you can see we have sort of the standard things, right, as like standard out and standard error. You can also log to any like folder on disk that you specify, and then we have two special ones which are like sort of the really interesting ones. And the first one is log directory, and that will default to the correct place on disk for every operating system, which is cool because, for example, on macOS, the way sort of there's this app called Console, and that has a whole bunch of logs for different components. Yeah, for example, here is CZ, that's the Rust editor. Like for a whole bunch of operating system components and also apps. And the way you get your log file into this app, so you like so you can use this to go through your logs. You can search, you can filter, but also end users can use this app to access your logs. The way you do this is by outputting the file to the correct folder, right? So it's important that this is sort of ending up in the correct folder, which is this, like username library logs. And this plugin for Tauri just takes care of all that. And then sort of the last one is WebView, which is kind of neat because this just redirects the logs to the web view, where you can then say, you can print them to HTML. So if you want to have sort of say there's an error that happened and you want that error stream or that debug stream to be available in app, you can use this target to basically redirect them back to the app itself, which that's in my opinion, that's kind of cool. This in the past, this has caused a whole bunch of issues, though, because like with logs and mutex deadlocks, because we're like logging, we're not logging for a whole lot of things, but for a couple things we are actually emitting logs. And it just so happened that we were emitting logs while the window was closing, which then you would basically send like messages to the window that is sort of in the process of being closed, and that is not good. That the window doesn't like that. So this is kind of cool, and really for this plugin, well, really for any plugin, right? But sort of this is the other part of this. Like we have this very cool plugin that lets you do logging in your Tauri apps. But the logs that you generate from your Tauri app really don't do a whole bunch yet. So yeah, we had to change that. Cool, let's close that. Nice. Then, yeah, let's also get rid of this. I guess the first order of business should be that we create a new branch. And so I know... oh, excuse me. I know that there is... that there is a PR for this draft tracing. Oh, it's using tracing. Okay, so yeah, I don't think we should start with tracing. No, maybe we should. Could you have multiple log outputs? You mean from, so the Can I jump there straight? Plugins, workspace. Yeah. So you mean from this plugin, like having it output to different places or to more than one place? Because yes, you can. So you configure this with an array, and this can be any combination of this, right? So as you can see, this example configuration basically instructs the logger to output to the log directory, to standard out, and to the web view. At least on macOS, this will not do anything when your app is packaged, right? Because there's no standard out. If you're just running an app, like double clicking it, there's no way to get to the standard out. That's just sort of a macOS quirk. And I guess like it might be like that on all the other operating systems as well. But for debugging, like when you run your Tauri app in debug mode, that is definitely also very helpful. So yeah, you definitely can. You can output it to any number of places. Which under sort of this, I think under the hood sort of uses then, like it clones the messages. But yeah, you can output to different places at the same time. Also kind of neat is this, which is sort of the JavaScript counterpart to this, where you can not only, like using this plugin, you can not only emit logs from the Rust side, but you can also emit logs from the JavaScript guest, and those will end up in the same sort of log stream, right? So you do not need to have multiple different logging systems configured and do a whole bunch of like merging files, or if like your app is crashing and you use this sort of sending you like logs, there's no chance that they miss the JavaScript logs, for example, anything like that. So that's kind of neat. Yeah, cool, nice. So yeah, I know that like Chip started work on this PR, which used tracing. And I honestly, like, we can use this as inspiration. But I think we should start with the log crate. Or let me, oh no, I misclicked. Let me quickly check. Tracing. Does it have a log compatibility mode? Events, subscribers, usage, spans. Okay. For log users of the log crate should note. Okay, my question is, let's bring this test app back. My question is, if I'm and tracing. So just to explain what I'm sort of thinking right now, the tracing is a separate crate that is very similar to the log crate, but it adds something very useful for debugging performance issues, which is spans, right? So logs from the log crate and like logs just in general, right? Those are like sort of point in time events, right? They represent something that happened at a point in time. And what spans are basically made up of two events, right? And spans sort of represent a span of time. Oh, hello, Lorenzo. Hello. Nice. They represent a span of time that something happened. So uh, we actually write at this very useful section, which the tracing crate comes with a macro that you can like put on your functions. And what that will do is it will basically, once you enter the function, it will start the span, right? And when you leave the function, it will leave the span. Have that be in camera. And it will leave the span. And that way, you can then put, like, you can use those events and output them to, like, if you're building a server, you could output them to Open Telemetry, to Prometheus, to any sort of like server-side performance profiling tool, and they will show up as like performance profile, right? Like as like using this waterfall kind of thing. And there's also Rust flame graph. There's also this. And this might not actually use tracing, but use like operating system level profiling. But essentially, my point is like you can use tracing spans to generate like profiling information like this, right? Where you can sort of see what function takes up what amount of time. Which, of course, in the context of Rust apps, also very useful, right? And so what I'm thinking is, if let me find that section again. If the tracing crate right here, right? If that crate has compatibility with the log crates, and it can emit logs to just sort of the regular logging system as well, then we should maybe just go with tracing, because then both existing like users of just like the log infrastructure can still use the events emitted by tracing. But if you're opting to sort of use the next level of that, which would then sort of also collect those spans and those like performance information, then that would work as well, right? So we don't need to redo a whole bunch of work. Okay, so this two feature flags, log and log always. This is intended. Okay. That is really good. So let's try this. So what this says is that I don't know if you can see it. It might be a bit tiny. Is this better or is this too large now? Well, anyway. There's this feature that you can set, and if you set the log feature on the tracing crate, it will emit logs to the sort of traditional log system as well, which is cool. Let's try it. So if everything goes to plan, right, we should. So let's do version features. This is, yeah, okay. Enable the log feature, and now we should just be able to switch out log for tracing, and this should just work as it did before. Nice. Okay, cool. That's very good to see. Yeah, let's try one more thing. If I remove that feature, what happens? Probably nothing, right? Okay, yeah. So that makes sense. So we want to add this thing to Tauri, like this dependency with that feature. That's good to know. Good to know. Cool. But yeah, so okay, then let's just use the tracing crate and do the same as we would have done with the log crate. And in maybe a later stream or at a later point in time, we can also add performance metrics to the crate. Cool. So, let's jump into the code, shall we? I said we wanted to start with the updater, so let's do that. Mod. Well, first of all, we gotta add cargo, add, what's the name of this? Tauri, right? Yeah. Whoop. I cannot spell tracing. This new, like, relatively new command, right? The cargo add command, that is just pure gold. That's so useful. Saves you a lot of time. It's a bit, you know, feels a bit weird of praising the cargo people for it, because like this is incredibly basic. Like literally every JavaScript package manager and every other package manager has this. But you know, cargo didn't, and now we do. So that's kind of cool. We have a lot of dependencies, my lord. Cool. Yeah, so I want to basically, let's go through sort of the flow of the updater and see if there are places that would benefit from having logs. And if you see anything, right? If you see, or like have a how do I say that? Have a specific sort of function in mind, or anything where you really want logs to happen or to be emitted, do let me know. I might miss them. But yeah, timeout. This is all like the builder stuff. Check if an update is available. Yeah, this definitely needs. Yeah, this definitely needs some logging. So what is this doing? Okay, so it is building. What's inner? Update builder. Oh, okay. I see what's going on. It has been a hot minute since I touched this code. So this thing, which is, yeah, okay, so it's in the core, and then it's yeah, update builder. Nice. So update builder, this is sort of wrapping the core update builder, which then basically does all the heavy lifting. So, but I feel like we should definitely start with this. And now I've lost my, check. There we are. Cool. So I guess definitely everywhere when we do basically call emit all, we should also emit a log. Because sure, like you can catch this in the front end and log it yourself, but like you don't really want to, right? And we should also sort of log once this is starting. I feel like this comment is a bit useless. Oh no, it's not. Oh, well. Is it even? Yeah, okay, no. Anyway. So, tracing. And I feel like this should be a debug log. Oh no, this should probably be an info log. Update available. And then we wanna, does this implement debug? No, it does not. Let's change it. Update manifest. Debug clone. Okay, so let's just. Oh, we're constructing it. Yeah, okay. Whoop. Then do that and that. Cool. Have some white space, please. Or not. I feel like this is one unit of functionality. This doesn't need white space. This is cool. Let's get this log out of the way to here, maybe. Cool. Nice. Listen for... okay, so this is handling... so the way this works is this is communicating through events, right? And it will basically, when it finds a version to update to, it will emit this event called Tauri update available with this information right here. So the body is the sort of text of the release notes, if you will. The date is the date that update got published, and version is the version of that sort of update, right? And then in the front end you can sort of capture that event, and like the JavaScript API has a couple methods for dealing with that more ergonomically, which under the hood just like use this event, right? But once you're sort of ready to install the update, you emit an event, and that event is named update install, right? And we listen for that right here. And once we register that, like once that event is triggered, we call this function, which should be down in this file, yeah. And that will then do the whole, like this will do the heavy lifting, right? This will download sort of the artifact, unzip it, or untar it, I think, and install it. So that's sort of the next function we should take a look at. But let's add a debugging event here. And this might be span, this might be tracing, this might be better suited as tracing. I feel like at least to me, the distinction between debug and tracing is sometimes a bit blurry. There's not really sort of a established like way of using that. I feel like, at least as far as I've found. But it's also, it's just a keyword. We can change it at any time. So let's go with debug. Let's go with debug for now. So received update install event. Oh, wait. Let's actually make this, let's actually check with the log plugin, because I know the log plugin has a default log level. And we should, for example, this event right here, right? This should be emitted by default. I feel like, because this is very important. But this right here, I don't know if that's super useful. That's more like useful if something's going wrong and you're sort of, you don't really know if you triggered, like if the updating button you clicked actually triggered anything, or for us as sort of the framework developers to basically know what's going on. So this message right here should not be emitted by default, I feel like. So let's check with the plugin what its default level is. Is it a constant? Default targets? Oh, it's not. Why is it not a constant? logger. No. Are we not actually setting this at all, but are defaulting to the log level of the crate that we use for this? That kind of seems realistic. Yeah, let's search for this, or let's search for level. Log level, thank you. Yeah, okay. No. Sure. Okay, this is all like printing and configuration code. Yeah. Interesting. So let's see. Well, so okay, so the crate we're using under the hood is called Fern. There's this big security warning. Ooh, let's have a quick read of this, shall we? Colored unsoundness. Oh, and a custom global allocator. Thanks. No, not interested. Well, let's still read. Let's see what this is about. Oh, okay. Which so this is actually not that uninteresting after all. Yeah, okay, sure. I guess this will just be a headache once dependency PR is hit. Yeah, but see, so they configured this with the log level. Dispatching here. Okay, so the default level is trace. So by default, this will log everything. So we don't really have a choice. We cannot really make this be dependent on what the default log level of the logger is. Which, that's a bit sad. I mean, you know, doesn't matter, whatever, you know. But would have been nice. Okay, anyway, let's move on. Received update install event. Checking for downloading and installing update. Is that too verbose? I don't know. I know, man. This is so. I feel like this is alright. This is cool. Yeah. Okay. Send status update. Yeah. Okay. So wait. Let's copy this because like what this is doing. So we should also be logging for the other cases, right? So if we should update, we have this covered, right? We can collapse this. This code path up until this function we'll jump into soon. We have that covered, but now we have sort of the non-happy path. Or I mean, I guess this is also like a good outcome, but especially like this error path, we should also handle that because like especially when something goes wrong, you really want logging output of that, right? So already up to date. update response. Okay, so what I'm seeing is this event variable basically toggles whether or not we emit events to the front end. But we should also, like, our tracing and logging and things like that should not be dependent on whether or not we emit events to the front end, right? Because that's the whole point. So let's comment that out for a second. We should. Ugh. Yeah, you know what I kind of feel like? This is sort of the wrong way. I cannot speak today, man. This is the wrong way around. What we should do is we should do update dot should update, right? And inside of here we should check for if events, right? If, and only emit the events if this is sort of given, but we should do all the sort of other handling regardless. So for this, for example, let's construct the manifest of this regardless, because we want to log it regardless. So tracing info. Oops. Mr. Semicolon. Cool. And now this is just some light refactoring. Now we actually want to go ahead and emit all this stuff, right? So, oop, oh, good, cool. And this should happen here. Whoop. Cool. So, hello, welcome to the stream. Just some chill refactoring right now. Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, this should not change anything about the functionality, right? This just inverts the order of if statements. Update and install. Let me. Yeah. Okay. Actually, one thing. I don't know if you're still here, Lorenzo, but if you are, we should figure out some music. I am bored. I am really bored. No, I'm not. But I do work a lot better with music on. Sadly, for streams and stuff, that would just be like very horrible, free, royalty-free music. Hey, but better than nothing. Okay, cool. So tracing debug. We made an event when the update is available, right? Then we check if we should. We emit a log if update is available. Then we check death metal. Yeah, well that's that's also absolutely not my kind of music. Hey, but if you want it to happen, make it happen. If you find a way to get me some death metal music, anything is better than no music. Cool. So yeah, so we check if we should emit events, then we do that, right? Yeah. And like this, this right here, of course, this only sort of applies if we are also emitting events. So already up to date, sure. Sounds fun for a coding stream. Yeah, it kind of does. Well, you can. I don't know. I feel like we should like I should definitely for the next time definitely get some music going. Don't really know how though. If you have experience with like streaming, do let me know. Like with setting up music for that. Anyway, update response. Cool, nice. So let's cover that non-happy path with an error, and that error should say. First of all, let's check what can this error. Oh, okay. This error can be anything. Nice. Okay. Then let's do failed to check for update. I feel like that's all right. I feel like honestly with logging, and I don't know, like I absolutely have no idea why I chose this as like a thing to do. I mean, I know, it's really needed, but I don't really know why I chose this as my task. Just because this I have no idea, man. Like doing like the form, like the phrasing of these, and like it's the most tricky thing in programming. Like naming things, right, is like the most complicated thing you can ever do, and this is just like straight up only naming things, right? It's like help. Anyway, cool. I think we have this function covered. I'm not making good progress at all. I'm very slow today. Download and install. Yeah. Okay. Wait. Oh no. Okay. We should emit something for this as well. Start installation. Yeah. No. Tracing. Make this debug. Downloading update. Okay, and let's sort of quickly cover the important ones. Tracing error. Updated and error. Okay. Failed to update, and then print the reason for it. Cool. Tracing info. Updated successfully. Nice. Okay, and then we have update result. Okay, so these are callbacks that are getting like I don't know why are we doing this with callbacks again? I feel like that we should at some point change this to use async, like full on async, not callbacks. Callbacks kind of feels too JavaScripty. Too I'm getting flashbacks, JavaScript flashbacks. Anyway, tracing. Let's make this info, right? Finished download. Installing updates. Is it though? Is it actually download and install? on download finish is getting called in the middle of this. Yeah, okay, so this will then go into, you know what, let's not do this in the callbacks. This seems like a bad idea. Let's actually do this in this function. And honestly, like, let's just keep all of the logging out of this function. Let's not, or maybe except for the error handling. Yeah, because we don't, like, I feel like we have no way of error hand, like, yeah, okay, no, we have no error handling. Well, I mean, we do have error handling, of course, but we're using the question mark operator all the time, so there's no... yeah, we should refactor the updater, definitely. This is, yeah, I know. Might be, might be a fun thing. The thing is, like, this, I feel like we have all been very, like, afraid to touch this code, because it's like very security like central, right? It's central to the app security, and so touching anything about this really is like a bit it's a bit scary. But I do agree this is a bit convoluted. Yeah, okay, so I feel like we can leave these, and this is gonna be fine. We should, like, do all the rest of the logging in here. Or shall we? Forget it. We keep that starting log here as well, and then we can do the more interesting stuff here. Did I debug? Yeah, that's alright to me. That's fine. Doesn't need to be info. I'm out of coffee. Shit. That's one of the things, what I'm really bad. Like, I do like coffee a lot, but I'm really bad at like making it, because, well, I don't know if I'm bad at making it, but I'm bad at drinking it, definitely, because when I make myself coffee, right? And then I don't drink it, because, like, I sit down, I start some work, I drink sort of the first half of my coffee, and like, that's the level where it's alright, and then my coffee just gets cold, which is sad, because, like, honestly, like, I have a very expensive, very nice, very cool espresso machine. I feel like I'm one of these annoying coffee people, and so I do actually put a lot of effort and also money into my coffee, which it then makes it even more sad and annoying that I don't drink it. Anyway, cool. So let's see, what is this function doing? Okay, this should receive. Sorry, excuse me. Oh, but no. Okay, see, like, what this does, and maybe I make this a bit bigger even for you to read. Move this to the side. See, so what this does is we do have an error sort of block, right, in which we return, like, from which we return the error, and that just like that means that we have, like, we should, and I don't really know, because, like, so we return the error, right? We return this error with unsupported Linux package, which gets triggered when we are trying to update from a Debian package, for example, which doesn't support updating. And we will definitely, like, we will catch this error here, right? We will catch this error here, and we will log it here. But I don't know if we should maybe have a more helpful error message here, right? because this is like the very generic error message code. This is just like, this will get triggered with whatever, with the error message defined. Okay, well, okay, so this error message already is quite helpful. Cannot run update on this Linux package. Yeah, I failed. So failed to update. Yeah, I feel like we should rename, like we should rephrase this while we're at it, because first of all, people, what's up with capitalization? Hello? Like, I should do more PR reviews. Like, this is a mess. Unsupported. Dude. Start with have this be the same capitalization, man. But so speaking of having it be like sort of the same, being it uniform, all these start with unsupported X, right? Unsupported application architecture, unsupported OS. So I feel like we should also start, like we should phrase this in a way where it starts with unsupported Linux package. And that would play in much more nicely with this message phrasing, right? Then it would say fail to update unsupported Linux package. Currently only an app image can be updated, for example. Unsupported Linux package. Currently only app image. Oh, okay. So this should first of all, capitalization, make this all be lowercase. Linux package, let's call it format. Currently only app image is supported. Does that sound good enough for you? Is that all right? I feel so. Let's update this comment as well. This Linux packaging format is unsupported. Currently only app images can be updated. Let's also is not supported. Operating system is not supported. Currently only Linux, Mac OS and Windows. This order is weird. We should. So I kind of in my I know I never talked about this, I think, with like anyone, even like neither publicly or with the team or whatever. But I feel like in the whenever we talk about what platforms we support and like any like in code, right, there's an order to it, and that order I in my mind is always sort of by adoption, right? So there the order in like by most adoption. So it starts like in like sort of my canonical order is always Mac, like Windows, Mac OS, Linux, just because that's for desktop operating systems. that is sort of the order of adoption, right? Most people use Windows, then Mac OS, then Linux. With regards to these, the Arch support, I don't really know. I mean, I guess sort of it definitely like x86, 64-bit. Then I guess it's Arch 64. Well, but this sort of, if we do it in order of adoption or order of usage, this is kind of weird. I feel like it should be this order, maybe. It's also, it really doesn't matter. Let's just use what this says. Unsupported architecture currently only and ARM and Arch64. Currently only are supported. I am so looking forward to improvements in GitHub Copilot. I didn't really want it to write code for me. I wanted mostly to write comments, which is weird, right? Because like it's the other way around. Usually like sort of the things you see on Twitter, people wanna write comments and have Copilot write the code for them. But for me, it's actually like the other way around, because I like writing code, but I don't really like writing comments all that much. Grammarly for code, for example, right? Grammarly, that tool that checks your writing for like style and like syntax errors or misspellings, but also like more high level things like weird phrasing, like words that you could use instead to sound like make it sound nice and stuff. And I have like there's a VS Code extension that you can use to have Grammarly in like VS Code, but that only works with like Markdown and like text files, but it's disabled for code files, which I feel is a pity. At least last time I checked, because I would really love it to check these code comments for me. So yeah. Anyway, cool. Tracing error, failed to update. No, we had this. Yeah, we already did this. Download and install. Cool, nice. So when we are on the wrong target, sorry, if we are running from a Debian package, error out. Nice. Then construct the headers for this. Nice. I feel like we should log that we are doing a request here. Log debug, and we should do the same in the checking. Yeah, we should let's after we sort of have finished this, we should move on to this function and add some logging there. Fetching update artifact from, and let's tracing, of course. Let's have the download URL as put this in quotes. I did, dude. I gave you. This cannot be pre-printed, right? It can. That's kind of weird. Would not have thought that it can. but apparently it does. Cool. Anyway, yeah. So fetching up that artifact, or let's call this downloading update artifact. Download request failed. Yeah. So this will again return an error. We don't need logging for this. This gets the content length, so we know what's happening. Interesting. Okay, so this is feature gating by which HTTP client we are using. I'm not sure though that we are actually using, like, because so initially, and if that's still apparently the case for the dev branch, we are supporting 2 HTTP clients, and you can choose which one you want. With these are a lot of where is it? Oh yeah, okay. So Atto HTTPC, if that's the way you pronounce it, that is the sort of the standard one. I feel like, at least if you read this code, it is, because this is disabled, right? This feature is disabled by default. Oh, not. What? What is going on? Client builder. Oh, I did something wrong. Yeah. Okay. See. Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say yeah, I saw that commit by Lucas that Atto HTPC was removed. So actually, Fabian, maybe you can help me out here for a sec. Should we be working on the dev branch then, even, or should we just, because like this, I feel like this might cause issues with merging later. On the other hand, like this is not a breaking change. Well, let's keep moving for now. Core. Okay. This will. Well. Now I'm intrigued. Next. Yeah, like honestly, I feel like it's fine. And Lucas will figure this out with the merge, I guess. Wait. Did we code? This is all the alpha things. Yeah, okay. So if we are freezing at 1.3, I mean, I guess honestly, like I think we should get this into 1.x, just because it's not a breaking change, and it's also like super useful. And like for the people that will be using, like we'll stay on the 1.x sort of version of Tauri, I feel like they would be missing out if they don't get like debugging logs and stuff, right? Yeah, let's keep moving with 1 point, like with the dev branch with 1.x. I'm gonna take this up with Lucas. Yeah, no, I will. I think honestly though this is fine. We'll see, and if not, I can just rebase this to the next branch. Yeah, but for now, let's just keep moving. So for what I want to do is I want to also print logs for whenever we receive the chunk, so we have progress information. And we should. There are 2 places. So tracing. I feel like this would even be a trace event, right? This is not a debug event. This is a trace event. See, I'm very much unsure about about what tracing and debug really are and how they differ. But I feel like in this sort of like based on vibes, right? This is sort of a place where we should use trace. Okay, received chunk. No, let's do received bytes. What is the message that we want, right? Because what we want is we want bytes. We want okay, no, you know what? Let's use curl for this. Tauri .app. This was not too helpful. Tauri.app out.txt. There's no length. What? This is weird. I may just not know how to use curl. Let's search for images. Curl download message images. Yeah, this is what I mean. Okay, so okay, so we have total bytes received, and then I feel like honestly like that's it for what we need right now. Like you can make this more complicated, of course. Like you can like curl this, you can sort of estimate the time left and like download speed and whatnot, but I don't really feel like we need to do that. That kind of seems overkill. Then call this download progress. See, this is where I'm struggling with naming things. Bytes total. It's a bit annoying. Let's prototype this in code that's actually getting checked. Download progress. No. Let's do download progress. Received. Oh. Would this require us to keep... Hello, Oscar. Hello. Welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Would this require us to keep buffer extend. Yeah, I kind of feel like this would, having a received pointer, a received counter would require us to keep a counter, which would be the worst. I just don't really know if it's that necessary. Like, do we care about the, like, sort of the total number of received bytes that much? I kind of feel like we don't. What is going on here? Why are we sort of reserving like a static amount of memory? This doesn't. This is not even a vector. This is an array, right? This is fixed length. This will just keel over if the no, wait. Oh, I am so, ooh. No, okay. So this is the buffer, sort of the temporary buffer for chunks that we get from the response. But we don't really need that for anything except for getting the length. And no, okay, so copying it into... This code is a mess. This is not, like, I mean, I guess this is gonna be gone in the next version anyway. And, like, this is much nicer with, like, the stream. But, like, this is a mess. Yeah, the buffer's buffer, yeah. Okay, but this is actually kind of cool because we actually do have a counter for the length of the total received bytes, which is buffer.length. Received. So we can totally do this. Total. Buffer.length and content length, which, and this is optional. Ugh. Okay, sure, why not? We should make this not optional. This should not be optional. Because if we know, like, if we know this length and it's required, we can, what we can do is we can allocate this vector and do with capacity, which will like dramatically speed up this downloading thing, because then we do not need to reallocate this buffer, which we might otherwise do, especially because, like, I feel like maybe we can somehow, maybe it's documented what the default size, sort of the default allocation size of a vector is, or the default reserved capacity. Because this is a specified. Yeah. Okay, I guess honestly, like, the capacity, the default capacity is probably not specified and will change. Oh, like, yeah, this is probably not. Raw vec. This is the one that has the capacity. Yeah. Self the new in. We are doing some digging, man. Okay, so actually, this is not like, this starts out with no capacity whatsoever. Which means Oh, this might be. This might be off. Honestly, this might be off. I'm going out on a limb here. But this would mean that if you just do vec new, it will basically have to reallocate immediately, which probably that's probably gonna get optimized away anyway. Or this might somewhere where I'm not seeing this, or where yeah. Tiny vecs are dumb. I don't know if they are. Okay. Min non-zero cap. Where is that used? Down here somewhere? Compile times. Yes. But make it. Yeah, so yeah, we could conditionally use with capacity, but honestly, like, if the server doesn't set a content length, that's stupid anyway, because the artifact size should be known up front. Right. But what we can do, let's why not? Let's get horribly sidetracked. Let's do content length dot map. Then do vac with capacity. Then unwrap or default. Boom. Okay, this didn't work. Oh, and it's not a U size, it's a U64. Man. We should parse this as a... This is probably gonna break other things, right? Yeah, I guess you're right, probably. We should not, having this as an option, it's probably alright. Especially if you're using sort of a CDN and the CDN doesn't set it. Because, if it's your server, right, and you're doing the thing where you don't set the content length, that's alright, because, you can fix it. But most of the people don't roll their own updating thing, right? So if you're using a CDN and for whatever reason your CDN doesn't set content length, you cannot really change that. And we shouldn't, that's probably a bad experience if you cannot change it. It's no fault of your own, but it doesn't work. Cool. Yeah, now, okay, so we use the content length, and if the content length is set, we allocate the capacity up front. Buffer.length, and then we do content length. Okay. A U size might be U64 or U32, right? So it should be safe to... No, it... Yeah, it should be safe to coerce this to a U64. Can we do this inside of an option? Or is Rust gonna yell at me? It is gonna yell at me. Thanks. Yeah, but see, okay, if we do this as a U64, we cannot, capacity... Okay, so if we allocate with a capacity that's U64, we cannot, because we need to give it a U size. But if we coerce this to U size, this might lose. This is a lossy coercion, right? Because U size might be 64-bit, in which case we're fine. But it might be U32, in which case we lose information, right? But I like in this case, like in any case, this would be catastrophic, right? This wouldn't be good. But in the case of with capacity, the vector will still grow. This just means that it's not as good, right? If you are on a 32-bit machine and the length is larger than the 32-bit pointer. Sorry, the length cannot fit into 30, like in a U32. This will basically truncate, and then we might need to reallocate the vector later on. So this might be a performance problem for 32-bit machines. Question is, let's try one thing, because I don't like, especially if we're going to keep this in 1.4, like in the 1.1.x branch of Tauri, and don't make it a version 2 feature. This function signature cannot change, right? We cannot change this from a option U64 to option U size. And we also, honestly, like, we shouldn't. Man, like, we haven't touched this module in ages. This to-do is wow. That's quite the old to-do. So question, what is the max size of content length? Because, I mean, I guess this might not even fit into, like, theoretically, this could also not fit into a U64. The chances are slim, sure. But I guess, okay, so if we're on a 32-bit machine, having this only be a 32 U32, that's kind of stupid. So let's keep this as this. Okay, let's go with the performance problem option as U size, because we want artifacts, like even on 32-bit machines, we don't want to limit the max size of artifacts, right? Because that's kind of weird. Why would 32-bit machines, why shouldn't they be able to deal with larger apps? That kind of seems backwards. But it's fine on 32-bit machines if we have to reallocate. Cool. We got sidetracked. Wow. As I called. Cool. Okay, nice. So we can now emit the buffer length and the content length. If it's actually streaming data, yes, it could be infinite. You're right. It could. But yeah, no. I mean, it could be infinite. The thing is, like, what app is infinite, right? And we should, like, but this is actually a good point. We should make sure that this is not keeling over if we are growing. Like, this should handle out of memory, or if, like, this should handle two, like, artifacts that are too large in a graceful manner. And I don't know if it does. But we, like, this is not, like, let's get out of the rabbit hole and let's continue with logging. This is actually, if you're so inclined, you can open an issue for this. We should figure this out. Because I guess this is one of the cases where the updater, like, could wreak havoc on your machine, right? Okay, info. We finished the downloading. Where is it? Yeah. Oh, yeah. We finished the download. We should emit an info event, and let's have it be roughly what? Downloading update artifact. Downloaded update artifact. Boom. Nice. Okay. And so the next step we do is we are unzipping it. No, okay. So first of all, we're verifying the signature. And are we unzipping and verifying in one step? No. Okay, so we're passing the archive buffer, which... Yeah, okay, so this is actually like named, but like this is off by naming. It's copy files and run. It's also copy, extract, copy and run. Which is that that seems like a code smell to me. That is that function is doing too much. It's reminiscent of the old like Windows API naming things, naming scheme where system calls or other system methods get so long they actually like don't fit on the screen anymore. Or I remember there was this one method in the Windows APIs that the method name itself actually is longer than 80 characters. So like if you have your editor set to 80 characters width, and it will like line break, it would have to line break like the method name, which in and of itself, like that's bonkers, right? That's method name too long. Anyway, okay, cool. Downloaded update artifact. And so this right here, I know from experience, this step right here, the verifying signature, this is one of the more frustrating parts of the updating experience if it goes wrong, right? If you have configured the signature, like misconfigured the signature, or your update manifest like has like, I don't know, copied the wrong signature. This is what happened to me, right? I was writing the script that was sort of creating this JSON the JSON manifest itself that the updater then would fetch. And I basically, instead of reading the signature file for each artifact, I was reading the first signature file and then not updating that signature. So only for the first artifact, it would be the right signature, and for the others, it would be a wrong signature. But this was really tricky to figure out because like it would just fail. So definitely like this tripped me up once. Yeah. Okay. Then do tracing debug verifying update artifact signature. Ba-boom. Yeah, to do. That is not a to do. Like, this is never gonna happen, right? Like, auto updating on mobile, that's not a thing. That's not gonna happen. So I don't know why it's a to do. Like, no mobile operating system lets you do auto updating, as far as I'm aware. Even if you use F-Droid, like the F-Droid store will update like the app for you. Well, anyway, let's leave this in. Not target OS Windows. Yeah. Oof. Also, people, this is a... Oh, Android does. Kinda does. What does Android kinda does mean? Like, you can do it a bit if you install the APK manually. You can, or what's the story there? This is also a code smell, because we basically have this function exists multiple times, but it's getting conditionally, like, it's conditionally different depending on the operating system. So it has the same name, but see, this is like for Windows, if it's on Windows, and this has a different number of arguments than what this function takes. And this is to me, this is weird, just because like you as sort of the person reading code, you identify code by like functions by name, right? You associate them by name, and this is like the same name but completely different functionality depending on the operating system. And it's like, it's not even that you can see that it's different functionality, right? You might sort of, if I'm on GitHub and I don't have fancy sort of syntax highlighting where it's sort of graying out code that it's not running, or that is sort of conditionally not compiled into the crate. If I'm on GitHub just reading this code, I see like, oh, copy files and run, copy files and run. Nice, okay, I'm jumping down to the function that's called copy files and run. But turns out, ooh, this is not the function that I'm looking for, right? And now I have to go search for which function, which is the function that I'm actually after. So to me, like, this also would need some refactoring. But it's a bit of a stylistic choice, more than a real issue. But I just feel like for reading code, this is weird. This shouldn't be like this. You download the APK and yeah. Okay. I get you. So if you sideload basically apps on Android, that makes sense. It's like getting apps through the App Store on like macOS or Windows, right? Where if you get it through the App Store, it's auto-updated. But if you're getting it through like sideloading, which like what like just downloading from the internet is, right? So then you have to do the auto-updating yourself. So it's similar to desktop OSs in that regard. That's cool. Or not, I don't know. I mean, honestly, Android is a weird operating system, I have to admit, but that's just what we have to deal with. And it's alright. It's cool. I mean, it's I like very much about now the fact that we are getting into mobile is that those operating systems are very different to the desktop operating systems that we're used to, and that gives you just like a whole different perspective on how things could be done, right? Like you get a whole different sort of view at how it's done in Android, how it's done in iOS, and that should just like broadens your horizon, which is cool. I like that. We are done. No, we are not. Verifying update artifact signature. Yes, we done that. Maybe like let's add a sanity check or sanity log just here to. Man, I keep mistyping. Or I keep confusing the crates. Tracing info. Okay, cool. So tracing info. We just want to sort of confirm to the user that this is actually like the signature was correctly verified. Signature update. Let's do this. Update artifact signature. Fully verified. Because this is definitely what tripped me up, right? Because like you get an error when it's not when it's not a valid signature, but you get no feedback if it's a valid signature and fails in a later step. I mean, you get a different error, of course, but still, it's nice to sort of have the peace of mind that we successfully reached sort of this point in the updating process. Cool. Yeah, see, also like this completely trips up jump to definition. Because I can just click on this and it will run, like it will jump to the macOS definition, which this is not, right? This is the call for Windows. So this should bring me to the Windows function, but it does not. Anyway, cool. Extracted files. Let's debug extracting update artifact. And like this naming is a bit verbose, but I want to keep this like throughout all the logs so you can like reference them, right? And we know we're still talking about the same, like the same thing. Okay. Log debug. No, it's not. It's not the log rate. Creating backup copy of current app. And let's, for debugging purposes, let's lock the temporary file path where we are sort of outputting this. I guess we need to do this as well. Okay, cool. So this is gonna extract all the files. Man, like this is so hacky. This is what this does is we had an issue on macOS where after updating it would not, so it would, that would break the icon, right? The app icon. And wrong tab. So if I, say like Discord, right? When Discord, which is not like, it's not using Tauri, right? But if like, let's like pretend for a second that it, like this is a Tauri app. Discord, like the app updates and the updated app would not have an icon anymore, even though sort of the artifact and every, like you configured everything fully like correctly. There's, I guess it's a bug in macOS or whatever, but this would just break the icon. And the way we figured out you sort of circumvent this is just by calling touch on the app, like the .app thing, which then would, like, I guess, refresh caches in macOS or whatever. Like no one knows what exactly this does and why this works, but it does. So we should add a comment for this. Sometimes after replacing the old .app, no, sometimes replacing the app would result in the icon being broken in the Launchpad, Mac OS Launchpad view. Calling touch on the app fixes this. No one really knows why, but it does. Cool. Extract all the files. Tracing, debug, extracting, update, artifact. And overriding installation. Oh yeah, link to the PR. That's a good call. Tower, no, help. I don't. So it's definitely a closed PR. Yeah, let's just go for icon. Search for icon. This is gonna be a whole bunch. No. Rerun. No. Ha. Okay. We should link to the issue instead. I feel like it's not like this. This is not very helpful. This is more helpful. And like what I've seen in Rust code, for example, is just people refer to the issues like this, like C issue. But I personally don't really like this, just because you cannot click it. It's sort of less accessible. What like you would need to like enter the URL and then change that at the end. Like it's weird. I don't like it. I like to keep the full URL instead. Okay. Yeah, so what we should also do in this one, yeah, feel the same. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, good to know. I don't feel like we need to do any logging for this per se. Well, like for this, we definitely need to log when an error happened and we are rolling back, because this is why we did this is why we created the backup copy in the first place, because if something goes wrong during extraction, we can just roll back and restore the old app. So let's do this. Let's do warn, because it's that's the question. If we are having if we are running into an error that we can recover from, does it make sense to use warn instead? No, I feel like this is a hard error. Okay. Failed error during extraction, during update artifact extraction, rolling back. No. Restoring backup copy. And this, we don't need to include the error here, because the error will be logged after this as well. We just want to tell people that an error happened and we are restoring the old app. Yeah. I guess no. Keep this as error. That's all right. Cool. Nice. So we are done with this. Let's add, so I don't want to do this in this function. I just want to keep it here. Tracing info update complete. Should this include sort of a mention that it's now a good idea to restart? I feel like it would be cool to mention that. Please restart for changes to take effect. Yeah, why not? Cool. So now we just need to, and that's sort of why I don't like having these functions. I mean, I guess they're sufficiently different so that like it would make sense for them to be like very different. But like we now just have to duplicate this code to all of the 3 functions above, which, you know, I guess like, yeah, it makes sense. And we probably for Windows we need different errors, like we need to log different error things. But yeah, still. Okay. This is an interesting error. Fix me. We need to create a memory buffer with the MSI. Okay, so that's an interesting thing. We're not going to touch this. We're not going to do like anything about this. But Windows, like so Windows supports running the MSI from memory. Like you don't need to write it to disk. That's interesting. Huh. Well, seems like a problem for some other time. Yeah. Okay. Are we creating a backup? No. Okay, so we are not, so we are extracting into the temporary directory, as opposed to what macOS does, where we copy the app to a temporary directory and extract in the real one. Which I'm gonna be honest, like this seems like a more sane approach we're taking on Windows. I guess there are reasons like why you like cannot do it this way on macOS, or maybe it's just easier to do on macOS the other way around. But like what I was thinking in the case of macOS, right? If this step right here fails, like this is cool because if anything during the extraction process fails, then we can revert. Oh, okay, MSI is a rollback feature. Interesting. Yeah, like if something happens right here, we can roll back, which is important, right? But if this step right here fails, for example, we still leave the app in a broken state. So I guess it would make more sense to extract into a temporary directory and then move, because then like the temporary directory would sort of contain a broken app. That's fine. And if the move fails, then that's also fine, because the app is like left in a good state instead of a broken state. Anyway, Okay. Wow. Ooh, a panic. Nice. That's not good. I mean, I guess we are exiting anyway, so we might as well panic. With elevated task. This should, yeah, okay. I have to I have to like dig through what this does because this is a lot. My chair keeps rolling. Okay, cool. So we rerun, like, no, we run the installer. Yeah, okay, and then we restart the app. Prompt restart. No, wait. Prompt restart, that's probably prompting for a system restart, right? Oh, it's been like, it has been so long since I touched any Windows stuff that I don't really know what's going on sometimes, especially with like PowerShell. Like I was on stream with, no, not yesterday. Yesterday was bad internet day. The day before that, I was on stream with Jacob, and we were doing mobile, Tauri mobile on Windows, because he is on Windows, and like at sometimes I just couldn't help him, because the Windows is so different, so weird. Yeah, okay, system restart makes sense. Yeah, but only if it's needed. That's good. Pretty much never. Yeah, when, like, what's the condition under which, like, you need is like a full system restart? Only if you have like only if you've like system files, right? Yeah, I don't know. Running installer. Oh, okay. No. So basically, we are only restarting the system when the restarting the app itself failed. Yeah. Okay. Huh. Yeah, it's Windows. Windows is weird. That's just a fact of life. Okay, so we run the installer and then... Okay, so I guess this command... Yeah, okay, so this command basically does it all in one. Like the command suggests. And relaunching app. Oh, okay. Oh, this is so weird, honestly. So prompt restart is like, I'm instructing you to maybe restart if you feel like it, which, nice. Yeah, naming things is hard. So what is this doing? This is just configuring some arguments. This is doing the same thing. This is okay. Okay, wait. So if this is with elevated task, that's because sometimes you need to, yeah, Windows. Sometimes, you know, kind of feel like Windows doesn't even try. That's true. Which, like, I respect that decision. You know, it's not the best for developers and users, but I definitely I respect that. Okay, wait. So if we have if the updater requires sort of admin permissions to run, we are going into this. And if this was all right, we exit. If this wasn't, as said here, we're just gonna do the regular install and try. Should we have some log for this? I kind of feel like we should. Tracing debug installer requires admin permission. No, let's do trying to launch installer with admin permissions. It always requires admin permissions. What is elevated task doing then? Then let's just trying to launch installer as elevated task, as an elevated task. Is that the correct way of doing this? Or with elevated task, I guess. Trying to launch installer with elevated task. Okay, then if this fails, running installer with elevated warn task failed. Trying regular install. So at initial installation, Windows task with that. Okay, interesting. I don't. Yeah, I don't feel like digging into that more. This kind of seems weird. Windows task. I mean, it's definitely intriguing. Yeah. Anyway, that's all right. I mean, if it helps somebody, cool. You know, why not? Weird Windows permission stuff. Unable to up. Like, this is using a lot of yeah, okay, so it makes sense that this is yeah, this makes sense that it's like a community contribution, because like this is not like, this doesn't have any error handling. Like, none. This just panics. At least like this should not panic. I guess like this whole thing should not panic, right? Because we have a way out, right? We have like if this doesn't work out, we're just gonna try the regular way. So we shouldn't. This shouldn't panic. So where's this command coming from? Process, okay. Then let's check the docs for this. Docs, no, rust cd process command. Status. Okay, so this returns a result. Are we like sort of, are we thinking about this? Okay, so it doesn't seem like we're sort of accounting for this error case in this specific enum. Maybe in this one though. IO. What's that error even? Like, what is the result error? Oh, okay, so it's an IO error, which I guess we are. Yeah. Okay, cool. So honestly, like, don't panic here. Like, we shouldn't panic. Especially like in any kind of desktop app, like graphical, like GUI app, you shouldn't panic. Like, period. But especially like this should not panic. This should not panic at all. I don't know why this didn't get caught in code review. Also this. No. Don't, like, stop. Code should not panic. This brings me to one other thing. Actually, that's something that I wanna do at some point. Is actually to go through Tauri itself and basically at the top of the crate do a what is it? Rust disallow panics. Yeah, rust enforce no panic. Is this a crate? This doesn't seem like it's a crate. I know it's not a crate. Rust attribute disable panic. No, this forbid panic. Is this not an attribute you can set? I kind of feel like it might be a clippy lint. Clippy lint. Yeah, I know we have some panic invocations, but I'm arguing that we should not. Like, we should get rid of as many panic like as many panicking things that we can. Especially as the library. Like if you are as the application developer, if you're panicking, if you're calling panic or unwrap or expect or whatever, like, you know, that's on you. But I don't think the library itself should panic. Panic. Checks for the usage of panic. Yeah, okay, so I guess it's not one clippy lint, but it's like a... It's a... Yeah, it's like a set. Like a bunch of lints that you should enable. Missing panic docs, that's not what I'm after. Get unwrap. Ugh. Yeah, okay, well, like, whatever. The thing, so the thing is why it's bad practice to use panics in GUI apps is that you have other facilities to report errors through. So, or rather, like panics in GUI apps is not like that's not the way you report errors. It's just not, because what panic does is like it will print stack like and actually fun side note, the default panic handler of Rust will always print to standard error. And if you are in like a no std context and a no main context, like embedded Rust, you need to provide your own panic handler, right? And then you can do whatever you want. But by default, the default panic handler will just print to standard error, like print to that. And that's why I'm saying it's not like panic is not the tool to report like unrecoverable errors in Rust in GUI applications, is exactly because of that. Like in GUI applications, you do not have access to standard error and standard out. Like you do as the app, but the user cannot see that. There's no way to retrieve that. And so if you are reporting, like if you're reporting errors, you should do that through the log thing and then exit, or use like you can do an error pop-up or whatever. Like there are ways you handle unrecoverable errors that do not involve panicking. And I mean, I guess what you could do is you could like wrap your Tauri, like we could wrap Tauri in set a custom panic handler, I guess, right? And then we could still use the panic macros, which I guess I agree are very convenient and like a very good sort of way to treat unrecoverable errors. But instead of then printing to standard out, we would sort of use the operating system facilities to report errors, because like panic, like the default panic that prints to standard out, that's just not the way you do it. Because like the experience for users of that app, right, the experience is something panics, the app is gone. Like the app just disappears and you do not know why, right? So yeah, don't panic. That's the, don't panic. Just don't panic. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, of course. Like index out of bounds access, for example, right? That panics by default, and then that's sort of like a standard library thing that panics. But that is like, you can avoid panicking. Like you do not need to like, in Rust, if like this is like a vec, I can do this. But if this is, or let's say I want to access like the 99th element of this collection, this will panic if this is an out of bounds access, right? But what I can do is I can do get, and this will return in like an option. So this will not panic. And all I'm saying is that like this might be a cool exercise for some other time. Just apply the clippy lint that like disallows any form of panicking code in like Tauri core, and then just go through it and fix all the panics, and replace them with non-panicking things. Cool. Extracting update artifacts. Yeah, okay. I feel like this is alright for the Windows thing. Maybe this deserves a log as well. Tracing warn failed to run update through. No, failed to run installer through PowerShell, falling back to MSIExec directly. Cool. Nice. Hello. Good to see you. We are in the middle of doing some Rust. In the middle of doing some Rust, but that was to be expected. We're in the middle of adding logs to. Right now, we're in the Windows handler that extracts the update artifact and then replaces the app or restarts it. But we just finished with that. I feel like. Let me know if I missed. Let me know if I missed something important where we should add logs, or some logging output. I feel like this is good enough for now, though. And let's move on to the Linux thing, and then we're actually done with this sort of code path. Extracting update artifact. Okay, this should be not above the import. Okay, so temperature locations. What is happening here? So we create a set of possible temporary locations, and we try those. Is that what is going on right now? And if that is what is happening, I don't feel like there should be boxed functions. But you know, whatever. I mean, I guess it's like I was thinking of like how you would do that in like a better way, and I cannot really think of something right now that doesn't involve like a lot of if else. So I guess I guess this is fine. Okay, so if okay, so we have a couple candidate functions basically that we attempt, and if they return something, then we go with it, and otherwise we're sort of iterating. We're iterating through them until we find one that works. Cool. This deserves a debug. Tracing debug. Attempting. Okay, see, now this is a bit weird for logging purposes, right? Because we do not like this. These don't implement debug, and so these won't tell us like what sort of candidate they are, because essentially it's just it's just like a function, right? Maybe we can. So just sort of struct. I guess this will be an enum. Enum candidate tempter candidate, and then we have tempter. We have no help tempter. We have cache and we have. Or is this what we want to do? Extract path. So no, this is not what we want to do. Quick, what's the square root of? I don't know, and I'm not gonna try. Shall we try quickly? What? No, the real answer now is we need to write a Rust, like a Rust implementation of that Quake square root algorithm. Oh. These two words are the worst words for a German to pronounce. Yeah. Okay, so this should be an fn once that returns an option. This is tricky, man. Yeah, I don't know if I'm if this is like one big rabbit hole again. Yeah, so I mean, on the surface of it, this would be that, and we would have we would use generics for this, which I mean, at least wouldn't allocate heap space, which might not be our biggest concern. What I was thinking is, can we just do this as an iterator? Like, we already use this as an iterator, right? But couldn't we use this as an iterator not over functions, but as an iterator over paths? And this would stop as like an inverse iterator, right? It would stop not with the first none, but it would stop with the first some. That makes sense. You know, I'm not gonna bother. This works, and that's good enough as is to me. That's all right. Yeah. Attempting. So Let's temperature labels. This doesn't need to be a vec. Temperature labels. The first one is temperature cache, then extract path. Extract path. Is that a static string? Okay, I have no idea what that is. No, it's a path. How dare you? Str. I should type check that. Can I type check that somehow? Yeah. Okay. To str. Yeah, cool, okay. Okay, yeah, I know those don't exist, that's alright. For temperature in enumerate. No, enumerate. Temperature location I. This is a bit annoying for just like printing logs. But I feel like it's important for people to know, like for us to know what is happening right now. Like we want to know which directory we are attempting to sort of open or to extract stuff into. Because that like changes, like if we're expecting this to extract into temperature, we want to know that it tried to extract into the temporary directory, but that it failed for some reason. We don't know why it failed, right? Which is the problem with which is a problem with the way this all works, right? I mean, I guess this is a system call under the hood, which probably will return an error anyway, but it will not, like the error is not propagated. And in this case, this cannot even, like, this doesn't even fail. Which, why? If this is guaranteed to not fail, right? Question. I mean, I don't know who wrote this code. Probably Lucas. We might. Let's go into GitHub. Tauri. Let's check the blank, because like the thing is, see, this right here, temperature, that can never return none. And this is like statically known to be always some. So it's statically known that we will always pick the first option. Right? Unless we call continue somewhere. Which we don't. I mean, I guess in this case, extract path metadata. So the only case, like the only situation where we don't want to use this is if the temporary directory is on a different device, right? The different like Linux device than our current, like the home, like the app folder basically. Yeah, see if like if this is on the same Linux device that we're trying to extract to. Or I guess the same mount point, which for this purpose, the same thing. So the question really is we should handle this differently, right? This should not be a vector of options because it's gonna choose the first option anyway, right? Like it's gonna like this is gonna choose the first option the first time around, and only if that's not on the same device it will basically like go ahead and try the next thing. So we should we like what we should really do is we should use temperature like by default and just check if it's man, this is some weird code, man. Well, I mean, it's like it's alright. It's like it's a bit tricky how you would solve that anyway. Like just because we have one, then like we have more than one fallback, we could try, right? We have like a list of candidates. Attempting to extract into temperature labels I. Cool. I mean, like, as I don't know who was it, like Fabian said. Yeah, okay, cool, I guess. Yeah. The thing is, so what I'm thinking is like this is a bit weird. This is a bit weird to me. This seems like overly complicated. But as Fabian said, like the whole thing needs a refactor anyway. So like I think we should just not bother, especially if we are like if we want to put this change into 1.x, we should not attempt to refactor like big things about the way Linux does this right now. We should just accept the fact that it's a bit that it's maybe a bit weird, a bit quirky, and deal with that. Yeah, okay. So extract the buffer, that's a yada yada yada. Nice. And again, we have handling for if this went wrong. So path extension. Something happened here. This wasn't quite right. Restoring backup copy. Yeah. Do we log? No. Okay. So we just this just stays as is. Okay. Cool. I feel like we're done with this. Yeah. So we are also done with this, which means that we can move on to, what is this? Build. Yeah, I think this is the function that we want to move on to actually. So in the check method, oh, and check with update dialog as well. In the check method here, this is the, so this method is the one that actually sort of fetches the first like fetches the manifest and checks if there's an update that can be applied. So we should, we have not tackled that yet. So we should. You want to offer encouragement? No, that's cool. Thanks. I'm not like, honestly, this is like sort of the first time that I'm like doing a build in public stream, and I'm definitely not as productive as I would be otherwise, but it's fun, it's great, it's cool. And especially like for what we did just now, where we sort of went into the different operating system. No, where it is, where is it? Well, we went into the different operating system things and sort of the special handling on Windows, for example. I have no idea like how Windows works, if we're being honest. And so that was quite cool to have Fabian and Amr help me out and sort of explain a bit what things do. So chat is not distracting. Chat is very helpful. You're doing great. You're doing great. Oh man, yeah, like yeah. But I mean, hey, you got to look at your code sometimes, right? And this is sort of, we haven't looked at this code in a while. I feel like collectively, right? As a project, we haven't, like, this is a bit crafty. So yeah, make sure we have at least one URL. That is good. No. Hey, but on the other side, see, like code review things, like this has a lot of comments. I have no problem understanding what's going on here. I mean, I guess I wouldn't have a problem understanding this even without comments, because like on the surface it's rather straightforward. But it's nice to have comments. It's cool. So, do we need to do any logs? This is getting the executable path. I mean, I guess we should. Yeah, so I guess what we should do definitely is we should have a log at the start to let people like to let people know that we are checking, right? Or is that better suited in these functions? Check update with dialog. Maybe it is, to be honest. Where's the other one? Here. Yeah, I feel like, especially with this comment, we should do this here. Info. Let's make this in info. So, checking for update. And this is not updates. Like, there are not more than one updates. This is like one, right? I know why it's plural. Same here. Check for update. Cool. Okay, so then we jump into this method, which is the one that actually does sort of the HTTP fetching. And let's see. Let's start at, why not? Let's start at the end. So this constructs the update object from the response we get from HTTP. So should update. Yeah, okay. Okay, so that's the thing, right? This with the so we've seen this thing with the sort of candidates on Linux just now, right? Where we have sort of a set of candidates for something, and we wanna iterate through them until we find one that works. And I feel like in Rust, at least like for the Tauri project, we have not really found like a suitable idiomatic way of doing that yet. Maybe like Rust as an ecosystem has not sort of found like a nice way of doing this yet, because essentially this always just boils down like to iterating through something, keeping a whole bunch of mutable state, and like looping, having special loop conditions and continuing or exiting from the loop depending on sort of what conditions are met, which always turns out to be incredibly unreadable. And that's what we're seeing right here as well, right? This is sort of we have a set of URLs we try, and if the first one works, all right, we're quitting the loop. But we keep going down sort of the list until we find one URL that works. But as you can see, this is like very sort of very verbose, and we need to keep like sort of a mutable state for the error, and then we assign the error and we unwrap the error, and like there's a whole bunch of like special handling, because like in this case we want to this loop should continue as long as there's an error that's happening, right? So this we should be going down the list until we reach sorry, let me say it again. We should be going down the list. We should iterate through the loop until we reach a condition where the block of the loop does not return an error, right? Because then we know, okay, it worked. So I kind of feel like we should, like as a Rust community, as the ecosystem, we should be kind of thinking about ways to make this reusable. And maybe like maybe I just don't know that there already is a solution for this out there. But I have certainly not seen something that does this in a good way. Because like, see, like I feel like this happens a lot. There's a lot of code that has like fallbacks, right? And like stuff like that. Like this Linux thing, if I bring this up. Yeah, I don't know where it is. Wrong. Yeah, anyway, like the Linux thing, right? Like we should be thinking about like how can we make this more ergonomic. But that is a task for some other day. Okay. Trace. Okay, I don't know if we need to sort of, this is all like just like setting up things for the request, right? So we get we make sure that we have at least one URL. We set mutable state, weird. We get the executable path, we get the RH, we get the target, stuff like that. The extract path. Like I don't know if we need to be logging that really. Like, can this fail? Probably, yeah, it can, but it will like print helpful errors for us. What we should do though is we should, before we fetch, we should sort of say, all right, we are making a request against this link with these options. So tracing debug requesting update artifact. No, requesting updates manifest from URL. Oh. We will be running Clippy on this just to make sure. we have not missed anything important. Request update manifest from URL with arch let's do this in this order. Current version with arch and targets. And honestly, this we might be able to use. No, we might be able to use. Hello, Safari. Okay. Recording fields. So with tracing, you can like do structured logging, where we can attach like sort of metadata to our logs. And I feel like this is a case where we should make use of that. So can we do this after? Can we do current version? Maybe not. Oh, like it appears to support that. Arch target. Okay, no. Is this only supported for spans? Maybe we can do this at the start. What is... Oh, okay, sure. So if we do this, I mean, I guess we should pull this out into its own variable. Current version, whoop, and then don't make this a pointer. Like this, cool. Ooh, 3 minutes. Wait, what? Well, I guess. Nice. Cool. Yeah, I had. Is today? No, today is Thursday. Okay. That's awkward. That's awkward. Why? Wait. I cannot look at my calendar right now. Yeah, okay, so if I'm I wasn't aware. I had in mind that I had the next thing coming up at 3. But if there's a meeting right now, then hey friends, people, I will be we will have to wrap this up right now. So we didn't go as far, like we didn't get as far as I planned to. I will definitely be finishing this up on stream though. So maybe after tonight, I will just go live without warning. This will be recorded anyway. I will announce this on Twitter, of course. Announce it on Twitter, announce it on Mastodon, Discord. So you can hang out if you want. We will hopefully have some music at that point. If not, I'm terribly sorry. Go put on your own music then. But yeah. Cool. Thanks for joining so far. And I will see you later. Yeah. Let me do the outro. And yeah, see you on Discord, see you around, see you tonight if you want. Bye-bye.